2020, a new year, a new decade. Why not a new video series? About 2 years ago, I had an idea to do a new show called The Boot Job. If you're from South Africa, you know exactly what a boot job is. And I thought I'll kick off the series, or season one of the series for that matter, showcasing my pride and joy. If you know me well enough, you know what a die-hard motor enthusiast and petrol head I am. And I'm going to showcase the rebuild that we're doing on the Mazdaspeed 3. Let's get into it. Yeah, so the day has come and get the car out. So just a run through of some of the stuff that's in here. Forgive the dust and the cobwebs. It's been standing for 2 years. Got Benny here with his beast. What you got, the BNR?
S4.
BNR S4 fully built motor as well. So yeah, just some of the things that are in this car. You can help me in case I forget, because it's been a while. We got the 51R JBR battery tray, smaller battery tray obviously for the larger intake. We got down here, can't see it, got the Mazdaspeed electronic boost controller solenoid. Got the certified tuning Guardian Angel V2. We got a HTP 3.5 inch intake with a K&N filter on the end, and this is a filter sock. Got at the back there the CPE manifold with the teal wastegate, obviously running with the back is a precision turbo 5858 general bearing turbo. The intercooler is a CPE front mount, the Delta core. Intake manifold got obviously port met injection, Autotech high pressure fuel pump in there, upgraded turbo inlet pipe with a turbo smart dual port blow off valve. It's got dual oil catch cans, sealed Moroso can, and a vented Autobahn 88 oil catch can, and that runs off a perm tuning PCB plate that's on the motor itself. Yeah, well, the motor mounts on the engine, it's all the Shaw Motorsports racing mounts with 90 Euro urethane. Actually have for racy days, we got now a JBR race mount. On the motor itself, it's got thermal insulating gaskets on the intake manifold and the throttle body. Inside the engine was Vesico pistons, K1 rods, what's those head studs? It's from Speed Performance, CA625 pluses, head studs, the whole shebang of stuff. That was the most expensive. Huh? Yeah, ERP mains, what. Yeah, but we'll get into that when we open the engine itself. Yeah, suspension wise, got the 10B strut bar, we got JBR front and rear sway bars, white line bushes, Moog endlings. Got obviously the RX8 rims, the best looking Mazda rims. What's it, Coney yellow shocks with Ibach springs. Got an airlift kit 1000 at the rear. For racing, obviously, no other intention. We're not about the low life. What am I missing here, Benny? There's so many things done to this car. Oh, full 80mm exhaust with 90mm rear boxes. Yeah, so that's basically it. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff obviously I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, anything that could be done to a Mazda engine has been done to this. I've had a lot of support over the years, obviously from JP at Edge Autosport, from JBR and Speed Performance, and I bought a lot of parts, obviously through Edge Autosport. Okay, so the rebuild, we actually took my car over to my friend Benny's house. Reason being is he has all the lifts and the hoists, etc., to take the engine out so that we can do all the work in one place. Just to end off this first episode, I thought I'd give a backstory or small history as to how we got here. One of the big questions I got asked a lot, especially when I posted a picture recently on WhatsApp and on social media, there was so many questions. Finally, why so long? Why did you take so long? Because the car had been standing for about 2.5 years. And there was a lot of things that happened that actually led to that, so I thought I'd share that. So I actually have had this car since 2009 when it got launched here in South Africa, and you wouldn't associate Mazda, especially the four-cylinder petrol engines, with racing or being a fast car. That market has been dominated always by Ford and VW. Anyway, Mazda, especially when the MPS got launched here in South Africa, the Mark 1, it really got a bad reputation. As you know, not being able to produce enough power if you modify them. A lot of the engines were breaking left, right, and center. People were saying now you can't get power out of these cars at all. But if you've ever driven a Mazda, it's quite an experience. And if you know somebody with an MPS, just go for a test drive. I guarantee you're going to be surprised. It's the same like, BMWs in the rear-wheel drive market. Everyone says you should drive a BMW because that thrill and excitement when the back just swings out. In terms of front-wheel drive cars, that's the fun. People always complain about the torque steer and the MPS, etc., but that's where the fun and excitement is. And if you've never driven one, you should definitely put that on your bucket list. But anyway, yeah, when I got that car back in 2009, I joined obviously the Mazda Club, Owners Club of South Africa. I'm one of the committee members as well in the club. Like I said, there was a bad stigma and bad reputation around those vehicles. In South Africa, there's a long-standing history and support, obviously, for the rotary engines, which feature in a lot of the drag racing cars that are here. But like I said, in terms of the petrol four-cylinder engines, everyone thought they were just plain crap. No other word to describe it. And we thought we'd go out, especially when I started on my build on this car. We just wanted to break that stigma. I've been an extreme Mazda enthusiast all along. My first car was a Mazda, which was a 323 sedan Mitch, and I still drive a Mazda up to now. I've got the CX-3 individual auto. As the journey progressed, obviously we went, the normal routine, stage 1, stage 2, and then the mod bug bites, and it's as a petrol head, and other petrol heads will only understand this, because a lot of people look at you and say, why are you wasting so much money on this car? But it's a lifestyle. There's some people that do drugs, there's some people that like doing extreme sports like skydiving, etc. And for petrol heads, it's cars and racing. In the South African market, there's so many avenues as well. There's drag racing, there's drifting, there's circuit racing. What they got, that burnout thing now, I forgot what it's called, but it's a uniquely South African sport. And there's a whole culture around it, especially with your show and shine events, park-offs, breakfast runs, and there's a whole social aspect to motorsport beside the actual thrill and excitement of racing a car. The one thing about the MPS my one in particular, when I did go big turbo, that car made reliable power for over 3 years on the stock engine. It was making between 420 and 440 horsepower, and it was present at every single dyno event, every single race day. It was raced at least every 2 weeks, and it was at every dyno event. At one point there used to be a dyno event during the week at least once a week, and the car was always there. And the thing was, like I say, breaking the stigma. It was really something to see the shocked look and also the excited look on people's faces when they saw the MPS go on the dyno, when they saw it go down the track, because they didn't expect the results. I mean, the car for its time, around that time, it was running the mid to low 12s on your MSA events, which was extremely good for the time. Obviously things have progressed now, and it did about 250 kilometers. It did 250 kilometers on the 1K.
And a beautiful speed of 250, 250. Dis hoe Mazdaspeed ry van 250 km/h. En dit is natuurlijk hier vir die dag 250. Wow, wow.
And that was actually limited due to a software issue. Hopefully it's resolved, because we run the COP software on our cars, and it used to reach the 250 kilometer mark, about the 800 meter mark on the 1K, and then the speed limiter would obviously kick in. So it was towards the end of, if I remember correctly, 2016, that things started happening. So obviously when I did go big turbo, my compression figures, when I tested the compression on the engine, especially on cylinder number 4, was very low. So from the beginning, when I went big turbo, I knew that the motor wasn't going to last for a very long time. But it surprised me, and like I say, it pushed that constant power for almost 3 years over. And a lot of it, I guess, we did. Big ups to Alex from Certified Tuning. He really did work magic on that car. It was extremely strong and extremely consistent for a very, very long time.
Go boy, go boy.
This is strong, huh?
So towards the end of 2016, the motor eventually went. Piston number 4 went, and there was progression, obviously, because I was seeing a lot of oil blow by in the catch cans. So I knew the rings and the ringlands, which are an inherent issue on these cars like they are on the Subarus, was going to, eventually lead to the death of that piston. And as predicted, that happened. But in the process, I think within the last year before that happened, I started preparing for a motor build. So I was acquiring a lot of parts. I've bought most of my parts from Edge Autosport. JP has been an excellent support over the years, and yeah, a lot of the parts, they've given me very good deals and prices over the years. And I got a lot of the high-end stuff from Speed Performance, a lot of the stuff on my cars from CPE, from Cork Sport, and yeah, the American brands have really made some excellent stuff for this car. I wish we had a lot of that stuff here in South Africa, but it's always been a challenge importing them here, and especially with the shipping costs, etc. So when the motor went, it was time to do a rebuild. And just before that, I'd also bought a new daily, because I realized that the MPS wasn't going to be a daily car anymore. So I had got the CX3 individual auto in preparation for this, and then as predicted, the motor did go. When the motor build came, I decided not to, they say you do it once, do it properly. So I spared no expense, basically, and I sent it to a builder in Joburg who was recommended by everybody. He was actually a friend of mine at the time, and yeah, the things he was saying that he could do, give me a reliable 1000 horsepower engine, etc. I believed them, and he had done quite a few MPS builds in South Africa. So I said, you know what, this guy knows what he's doing, let me send my motor to him. Long story short, and I don't want to get too much into it because it still angers me a bit up to this day.
Hey! Don't angry me.
That there were a few engineering flaws in that motor build. And something that led eventually to the death of that engine was I was told, obviously, when they do these builds, they block off the EGR valve in the head. And when I went precision turbo, I had to remove the EGR valve, and he made me a plate to block off the EGR. Yeah, I'll showcase that plate in another video and explain exactly what happened. But basically that led to coolant filling cylinder number 4. It weakened that rod. Even realizing this, we had stripped the motor out to send it back to the engine builder, but he said no, we shouldn't send it back, the motor will be fine.
What you talking about, mister?
And taking his word, I'm like, are you sure? Because listen, it's at my cost anyway. I think you should just open it up again and check everything. But he didn't want to, and about a week later the rod shot out the block. So that happened in 2017 in June. Also, like there was around the time end of 2016, some people that are close to me know, I went through a divorce, which actually was a big surprise to me. But I'm not sour or bitter about it. I learned a lot in the process. Somebody started up their lawnmower. Yeah, I'm not sour about it. I learned a lot in the process, but that divorce went over a few years and was also being finalized at the end of 2016. And anyone tells you divorce is not for sissies, and there's a big cost to that. When the motor build was done, I was also running another branded turbo, which was actually using my car to showcase that turbo in South Africa. But then there was also a breakdown there because the turbo was still within the warranty period, but could not be replaced under warranty and didn't live up to the promises. And yeah, there was a whole lot of back and forth. But anyway, yeah, I think friendships and bridges were broken there as well. So the next thing was when the engine broke, I decided, so the engine builder did offer help, but as the months went by, they stopped responding to messages, stopped responding to calls, stopped returning calls. Eventually I couldn't get a hold of the person at all. I later found out that said person had actually emigrated. And in that time I was saving up and trying to find a block for this motor. They're so rare in South Africa, and when you do find one, they're either extremely overpriced or they damage themselves, so it's pointless actually trying to use them, especially when doing a high horsepower build. Yeah, so that brings us to the beginning of 2018, and I was actually contacted by an individual who was actually in school with me, and he provided all the necessary documentation, etc. He had an import business that he said that he was bringing in stuff from China and from the East, and he had a contact in Japan, and he was going to bring me in an MPS engine, brand new one, at a very good price. The saying, if something is too good to be true, it probably is. But like I say, I didn't have any doubt to believe him because of the documents, etc. were supplied. And then few months went by, and by the time we got to June, every month there was always a new excuse. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that type of situation. And then I found out that this individual, his name is Dinesh Notai. He was a massive con artist, and obviously that money and him disappeared. There have been some posts on Facebook, as you'll see, and he's wanted by the police, but it became difficult, excluding the cost obviously that of the divorce, the cost of 2 turbos, and the cost of the major components for the engine build. I was in the red of over 100,000 rand now. Obviously the money that paid this guy for that engine and the engine build itself and everything that went along with it. I never ever I always bought the best for the car in terms of fluids, etc. Um, and yeah, so that left me in the red financially, and I had to take the tough decision, because now obviously with all these major costs that happen along the way, and motorsport is not cheap, anyone will tell you that. I had to make a very tough decision. With my current partner, I had to decide, she needs also my time and investing in her. So I had to make the tough decision on, do I waste more money in the car now, because I've already spent over 200,000 on the vehicle itself in the last year, or do I actually use money towards something? So I decided to invest in, obviously, Califer Productions. We've got a tech channel as well, called Something Amazing, and live for myself a little. I was pumping everything into this motor vehicle, and there wasn't any benefit or anything yielded from that. So I had to take a break. So that's the reason the car has been parked off for 2.5 years, basically, until I could get back in that comfortable position where I wouldn't compromise any other aspect of my life and do this car. The toughest part of it all was, I'm like I said, I love cars, I love motorsport, and I did attend events for a while afterwards. But as much as it was exciting being at those events and being in that atmosphere, it also became very depressing. You see yourself, I wish I was going down the track, or I wish I was driving on this breakfast run, and that took its toll on me. Yeah, sorry. Sorry about that. It's still, it's a very sensitive subject. I withdrew from attending events. I withdrew, and the sad part is I made a lot of good friends along the way, and then obviously now I'm not seeing them anymore. It became harder and harder. And I decided to withdraw myself from that environment, because it was just a painful reminder of everything that happened. Everything that happened, it just left a bitter taste in my mouth. It was very painful and a very hard thing to accept, but I made a lot of big mistakes. Obviously, a lot of it was putting trust in people that let me down horribly. But yeah, man, we learn these lessons. So now we've decided to do this build on our own. I've gotten back to more or less of a better spot. Whether we're going to do this build the way I want it to happen, time will tell. We're going to get obviously the motor stripped. That will be the next episode. But with regards to the costs and sourcing parts, I still don't have an engine block. Still trying to find one. It's time will tell. Obviously, finances willing. How far we can go. Hopefully, I can get to that goal which I always wanted, was about the 550 horsepower mark. But yeah, it's going to take a while. But for now, the aim is just to try and get the MPS back on the road. If there's anybody out there that's willing to offer any help in any form, please reach out, get in contact with me. Any help will be welcome, especially when it comes to looking and getting parts, etc. Any advice on like what we should be doing would be much appreciated. I saw an interesting meme, or interesting bumper sticker actually, when I was down in Durban. You will always get people. They say you always get people that are haters, and that people will say negative comments, etc. But the bumper sticker said something along the lines, Support your haters because they are your biggest fans. And I thought, that's actually true. But yeah, I hope you guys follow us, subscribe to the channel, and follow this build. And yeah, so that you can be part of this process. It's exciting for me. So that's why I'm doing this video series, and along the way we'll cover a lot of technical aspects which probably might be beneficial or might help somebody else down the line. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.